There we
wonderful
are.
lighting.
Oh, there we
And
are.
it comes up.
Yay!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the fun show on Big TV. Here we are. You will notice that there's only two of us today. The reason for that might possibly be obvious, and that is that this is the first night of Passover, and most of our, not most, but perhaps quite a few of our regular viewers are sitting down to their Passover table, checking out the bitter herbs and the shank and one thing and another, passing out the books, trying to remember their Hebrew.
Yes, which is where Mike is missing in action, too.
Right. Mike is sitting down at his Seder table, and Kiera has to count the seconds as she rushes off to get to hers. She has a slight pass.
I couldn't leave Arch here on his own, so.
As you described yourself as what?
A new Jew.
A new Jew.
A new Jew.
Yes, a new Jew. Which is very poetic when you come right down to it. So we wish you all a happy Passover, whether you're seeing us live at this moment or you see us on one of our numerous reruns. But we're happy that those of you who did join us. I'm back, having taken my expedition to the Midwest, to St. Louis, Missouri. And
did you say Missouri?
Missouri.
Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri.
So it's not Missouri?
No, those are the people who say St. Louis, Missouri, and they're wrong on both counts.
All right. Missouri.
Yep.
I don't know that I'm going to be able to change for Missouri.
Well, as long as you don't go there, no one will give you a hard time.
The rest of the world will be fine with Missouri. Okay. How was your trip?
I had a very good time. I got this, of course, is where I was born and raised, and I got a reminder of what I'd left behind, because on the driving home from the airport with my sister to my sister's house, we were greeted by 70 caliber hail.
Wow.
Some of it bigger.
Did it damage the vehicle?
The interesting thing is it didn't. It beat on the roof so loud we couldn't hear each other.
Yeah.
And my sister, who in a previous hailstorm had several $1,000s worth of damage of all these dents she had to pull.
Wow.
We went over and over the car and we couldn't find any dents. But it hailed enough that when we got back to her home, the entire green lawn was white.
Wow.
That's how much there was. And then at about 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden there's these like air raid sirens going off and bright lights from the top of tall poles flashing over the neighborhood.
Oh my goodness.
And that's their tornado alert system.
Ooh.
Drama.
Curiously
enough, my St. Louis sister had gotten a warning on her cell phone.
Nice. Good old modern technology.
If your GPS is on, they actually sent a message to her cell phone, which made a strange noise she'd never heard before, and it said, severe weather warning your location, which is interesting.
We actually get them here, too, for severe weather alerts.
Do you?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
So we were chased into the basement to hide out in the basement.
Is it a finished basement? So is this a comfy place for you guys to be?
No, actually, we were sitting in a storage closet in the basement and hunting around. And we didn't hear anything or anything. We were listening to the radio until they tell us we could go back up. And then we discovered that the tornado had actually touched down a block and a half away.
Wow.
And a few days later, we drove down that street, and for 2 blocks, all the roofs were tarp. All the windows were boarded up. All the walls, all the fences and walls, garden walls and trees were down. One of the trees, its roots had broken to a gas main in the process. There were crushed vehicles in the driveways. And this was a block and a half away. So I didn't hear the much referred to freight train or anything else.
Okay.
But
what's the much referred to freight train?
Oh, the usual response to what it's like to be in a hurricane, not a hurricane, a tornado, is that it sounds like a freight train rushing through.
Okay, so you didn't hear that from the basement.
I didn't hear that, but I could have walked to where it touched down in under 5 minutes.
So you guys just got lucky.
And then the next night, we got chased into the basement twice by the alarms. And I learned how difficult it is to cook your dinner when you've got to turn everything off and hide in the basement and then come back and turn it back on. Asparagus does not like being reheated twice.
I would guess not.
Anyway, we had a fine time. We went to a lovely luncheon with Barbara. I started her first name and I forgot her last name.
Is she a friend or?
No, her husband was the senator from Missouri and the George McGovern's vice presidential running mate.
Okay.
So
you had a nice luncheon with her?
we had a very interesting luncheon with a gentleman who wrote a book called This Town, which is a rather no-holds-barred take on the current Washington, D.C. and how everybody's
You like that sort of thing, don't
only
you?
in it for the money and
Yeah.
And the fact that contrary to his history, nobody ever leaves Washington anymore. I mean, they leave Congress and they immediately take a 7-figure salary to become something else. In any case,
Anyway.
I came home and I thought of Mike when I looked at my television yesterday, and who do I see but Mayor Menino on the local news programs saying that the bubble has passed for casinos in Massachusetts, that there will never be a casino around Boston, and that if
I can't believe Mike's not here to hear this.
and if Martha Coakley allows the petition to repeal the casino law to get on the ballot, that Mayor Menino believes that it will pass and that the people will repeal casinos. So there's a growing chance that Mike will never get to his casino in Massachusetts.
My fingers are crossed for him. How did Menino look?
Menino looked very good, actually. Yeah. Yes, very good. He's telling the story, I think, even tonight, in fact, about how he was in the hospital when the bombing went down a year ago tomorrow, and that he said to the doctors and nurses, "I've got to get out of here," and he simply checked himself out of the hospital and arrived on the scene in a wheelchair.
Wow.
So I'm not sure that we understood how ill he was at the time, but
I'm sure he didn't want us to know.
No, he rushed like the old fire horse right into where he was needed.
He has been something special.
yeah,
It's going to be
good
hard
for
not having him
Tommy.
around.
Good for Tommy, you know. So that's that. So this means that we're coming up on the marathon.
Yes.
It also means that we will not be here next week, ladies and gentlemen.
What am I going to do with my Monday night now?
I don't know. You'll have to eat leftovers. Passover or something.
That's a whole week. No way.
What, you don't own a refrigerator?
Yeah, but a week is a long time for leftovers.
To pass on them?
Yes.
To not
Yeah,
scarf
I
them
will
up?
definitely be passing over those leftovers.
Pass over the leftovers, yes. Anyway, so this is going to be a huge marathon, which very significant, and more runners than ever, I understand. And so there's going to be a huge field. And we have a very legitimate shot of having an American woman actually win the women's division.
Really?
Yes.
What's her name?
I wish you hadn't asked me that because I don't remember.
I asked it on purpose. I knew you weren't going to remember.
It's Sheboygan or Shaheen or Shaland or
Something with a shish
something
sound.
with a shush, which is the sound she makes going by. But
I guess so.
she's America's best marathoner. It's been decades and decades and decades since an American won either
Was she
branch.
in the marathon last year?
She was.
Okay.
She was, and
She's just
she finished fourth.
okay. Done some extra training this year to
She's got
possibly
a
rank number
vengeance
one.
for it because she's from Marblehead,
Okay.
and she really
Why does her being from Marblehead mean
because
she
it's
has a
local.
vengeance?
She
vengeance.
took bombing the marathon very personally.
Okay.
And she wants to show this overworked term, Boston strong.
Okay.
Right. So she's coming back.
Swinging.
She's coming back, making a very great effort. She's tried.
Well, now I have someone to root for. I don't usually pay much attention. As everyone knows, I don't pay much attention.
She's a little blonde, but you ought to go out and take a look at the marathon as it goes by.
I'm not a crowds person.
Oh, really?
It actually, it's just, in my mind, it's always asking for trouble. Just in general, not even thinking of the worst thing possible. I prefer to watch from, high up in my office building or television, or just hear about it afterwards.
That's funny. I never would have guessed that about you.
Really?
No. I thought you would.
I don't mind dangerous things, from riding a motorcycle to a little skiing.
How about spelunking?
Spelunking. I know. I can kind of see what spelunking is in my mind.
Crawling.
Nope, see, claustrophobic. So maybe that's the crowd thing. Anything claustrophobic,
okay.
I am not interested.
I'm claustrophobic too.
Yeah.
On my flight home, I had to take a center seat.
Ugh.
And it was the worst recent experience that I've had. I flew, most of the time flying home, I just sat there with my eyes closed, pretending I was somewhere else.
It's probably smart. What was wrong with the people on each side of you? Because I usually figure if
I don't know. I didn't get to know them.
You were just like, I'm uncomfortable.
I'm too claustrophobic. I also
Why did you order a middle seat?
Huh?
Why didn't you order
That's the only seat I could get. There were no aisle seats. And I was also right behind the divider between first class.
Ugh.
So I had a blank wall in front of me.
Extra claustrophobic?
Not good for me. Not good for me. So.
Well, you survived, though.
I'm here.
You're here.
I survived. In 2 weeks, we won't be here next week.
No. Again.
But in 2 weeks, we're going to have a very special show.
Okay.
As we're going to have a new young candidate for Brookline Selectman joining us.
What's his name?
Ben Franco.
Ben Franco.
Ben Franco.
I have heard that name.
A great young man, and who I've been out hanging up campaign signs with.
Nice. I hope he appreciates what you're doing for him.
No, I mean for the last 10 or 12 years.
Oh, you've been really?
Everybody else's signs, and this is the first time that he's running, so I'm looking forward to that. We've invited him to come in and talk to us.
Very nice. There's going to be 4 of us, because I refuse to be kicked off out of my seat.
Was there any suggestion that we would kick you off?
No, but I was always worried that the next guest coming around
would take your chair.
Yeah, I was gone. It was it.
Well, you actually haven't missed a show since you started.
I think the very first show, there was like a couple shows, because I hadn't really, that was my first guest appearance.
That's true.
But once
I think you came back like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
You've been here constantly ever since then. So.
I'm a very determined, focused person.
Yes. Well, the best way to stay on the show is just to show up. But that's the key to accomplishing a lot of things in life. Just show up.
That's right.
You got to start there on things. Now, I also note with interest that our former short-term senator from the state of Massachusetts by the name of Scott Brown, Mr. Pickup Truck, has now formally announced that he's running for Senate in New Hampshire. He's found himself another place.
Lucky New Hampshireans.
Well, in my opinion, it's a sad commentary on the state of the Republican Party in New Hampshire that they've got to recruit a loser from Massachusetts to run for their thing. I mean, they have no candidates from New Hampshire. They don't have anybody who actually wins.
No
However,
comments.
should he, on the odd chance, and what I believe is the very remote chance that he should be elected, it will at least take us back to our proper place that we held in the late 60s in the United States. And that is that Massachusetts will again be the only state with 3 senators.
You have to explain that to everybody like you had to explain it to me earlier.
Well, I don't have to explain it to everybody.
Well, almost. I mean, at least somebody doesn't know.
But there was a period of time when Robert F. Kennedy was the senator from New York.
Okay.
And most commentators in those days said that meant that Massachusetts was the only state with 3 senators.
So with Scott Brown as a senator from New Hampshire, he'll be
we
our
will be
third.
We will be once again have 3 senators from Massachusetts.
Why don't you think New Hampshire will elect him? Why do you say remote?
Well, because as I said, he's a loser.
But he's got a name. You know, sometimes even bad press doesn't matter. So his name is, he's got a notary name. I don't know if that's the right way to say that.
On the other hand, they already have one of the best 15 senators in the United States whose seat he's running for.
Okay.
Who is not only a very good senator and a very accomplished senator, Gene Shaheen,
Okay.
but also previously the governor of the state of New Hampshire. So I don't think Scott Brown's name recognition as the loser from Massachusetts is going to crowd out the name recognition of their current senator and former governor.
Fair enough.
You know,
Might have to take a wager on that just to make things interesting.
And besides, doesn't everyone in New Hampshire have a pickup truck? Are they going to be that impressed by a pickup truck?
I'm not touching that one, everybody.
Well, so I was very, very interested to see your guest last week.
I know he was supposed to be here tonight, and I'm not sure what happened. I don't want to say he flaked out. Maybe he was chasing his tail. Because
he's a nice thing to say about an old lizard.
Oh,
Grandpa Lizard.
He was spunky.
I understand that Grandpa Lizard may have been more important in the control room today.
In the control room.
Darn right there. And I'm going to tell you that I'm doing a bang-up job in here.
Well, Grandpa, how are you?
Hi there.
Well,
I decided to try my hand at the control room this time.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, you're doing a fine job, it seems.
Yep.
Anyway, how's things going in there? Who you got in there with you?
Oh, I got the whole crew here. This is Jamie. She's the director.
Oh, okay, very good.
I'm producing today.
You're producing.
Excellent.
Then we got the audio people down here, and we got the technical. What is your job there, sir? You hit the buttons.
Grandpa, where'd you go?
He hits the buttons. That's the button hitter.
He's the button hitter.
A button pusher. Huh?
There he is. Yes.
That's
Somebody's
very good.
got to push the buttons.
So, Grandpa, it was nice having you on the show last week. Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it immensely. I decided to come back and try every aspect of the show. In front of the camera, behind the camera. Next week I'll be serving drinks.
Oh, good,
Excellent.
good. Did you have any? I'd like to know. Did you have any previous acting experience before you participated last week?
Well, not that I remember specifically. I think I was in a movie about a chariot race. I think I was
chariot race, huh?
Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur.
Was that Ben-Hur?
Ben-Hur. Were you?
Or was that just the movie Her about Phoenix Walker and his in love with his Siri?
Well,
I can't remember which movie it was.
I don't know. You seem to be a fairly close to a disembodied voice, so maybe that was possible.
It could be.
Nice.
You know, Arch, I was listening to your conversation there about Scott Brown.
Yeah, Scott Brown.
You know, he reminds me of another fellow with the last name Brown that I know. And he's always trying to kick the football, and he never can do it.
Oh, Charlie.
Yeah, that's what he reminds me of. He's always trying to get into politics, and he never can do it.
Well, he needs a Lucy. That's what he needs.
I know. And I don't know if you noticed, Lucy wore a blue dress. It's symbolic.
It's symbolic?
Yep.
Not a red dress, but a blue
Not a
dress.
red dress.
Yes.
No.
Right. So
Nice.
that's a political reference.
I actually got that one, believe it or not.
Right, very good. Well, Grandpa, we're very glad that you're taking care of things in the control room today. And
How are we doing out here?
You're looking great.
Excellent.
I mean, I'm looking fantastic, but you're looking great.
you're looking.
You always look fantastic.
Yes, you're a lovely shade of green today.
Oh, thank you.
And it's
Is
not.
he blue?
It's not.
I think
he's
he's blue.
Oh, so we're going to have that famous debate. Huh? Who's colorblind? Is it easier to be blue or green? They say it's not easy being green.
I think blue is less, it's not a state of mind. I'm not unhappy. I just am blue.
Am I blue? Am I blue? All right. Well, thank you, Grandpa.
Anytime.
Thanks,
Okay.
Grandpa. We'll see you again soon.
So, any subjects that come to your mind there, Kiera? Actually, I never introduced you, but I don't need to anymore.
Well, you know, I still like to be introduced, just symbolically.
Kiera Miner.
Thank you.
Kiera Miner.
Thank you.
I'm Arch O'Riley.
O'Reilly.
Yes, they may have forgotten me. I
Is
wasn't
that
here
Irish?
last week.
Is O'Reilly
I'm
Irish?
trying to figure that out. In fact, my sister and I are planning a trip to Ireland to try to establish whether
Really?
that's true.
So
Yes.
we're not. I figured you knew.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to County Cavan
Okay.
because I haven't been able to take my Irish roots past my great-great-grandparents on any of my Irish lines.
Okay.
I run into a wall at that level on all of them.
Are they? So does it stop in this country?
No.
You're great. Okay.
No. I have them all back to Ireland.
Okay. Well, then
Where
logically.
I tend to lose them because, for example, my Irish line, the oldest ancestors I know are Michael J. O'Reilly and Mary Smith.
Okay.
And
Those are very common names.
and almost 60% of the people in County Cavan are named O'Reilly. So that
You're Irish. You're definitely Irish.
The name that stands out in that couple is Smith.
Yeah.
Which will give you an idea of how
that's
difficult it is
hysterical.
to find the things. Now, on my maternal grandmother's line, I have a couple who I know came from Ireland and settled in West Roxbury.
Okay.
The only problem is there are 3 couples with the same man's and woman's name who all arrived the same year from the same part of Ireland and settled within 3 blocks of each other in West Roxbury,
Oh my goodness.
which makes it a little difficult.
Yes. Yep.
I could pick,
You've run into a wall. Fair enough.
I could pick one, but I wouldn't know if it was the right one.
I would support that one that you picked, whatever one you picked. But I think enough things have lined up that you are, in fact, Irish. I am going to determine that you are Irish.
Well, Ancestry.com's DNA claims that I'm Irish
Okay, done.
and English and something
Well,
else.
you know,
Whatever.
very few Americans, I think, are not blends. You know,
That's
at
true.
this point.
That's true. And you know what I always say about my applesauce?
I have no idea what you say about
It's
your
only good
applesauce.
because you blend apples. You never want
Okay.
applesauce or cider that's not a blend of different
Really?
kinds of apples.
I did not know this.
Oh, I never use fewer than 7 varieties of apples in a batch of applesauce.
Interesting.
It's a little easier, ladies and gentlemen, considering that I make applesauce 8 quarts at a time. So, but
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
make it in big batches.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
It's like
those-
tomato sauce.
There's
And,
those people who throw apples in their Cuisinart and then in their microwave and they call it applesauce.
that's not it. There's no way.
I'm sorry.
I can't support that either.
No,
and, you know,
It doesn't.
I'm of a microwave modern generation, and I can't support that.
I had my first lesson in making applesauce when World War II was still going on.
Wow.
And
Did you use one of those machines that you grind the apple? I mean,
you don't grind the apple. It's
I
called a
mean-
mill. You
What does the mill do?
it removes the sauce from the peels and seeds and stems.
But are you not grinding the
No, you're milling-
pestle
you're-
around
you're
the...
milling it.
But, all right.
You're milling.
I'm gonna-
a Foley food mill. For years and years and
Okay.
years, it was a Foley food mill. And the thing is that you have to stew down the apples without coring and peeling them. The reason that commercial applesauce, ladies and gentlemen, appeals only to infants and geriatrics is
Ouch.
that they peel and core the apples and then cook them till they fall apart.
Okay.
And they just, well,
There's
first
no
of all,
flavor in that.
first of all, most of the good stuff's in the peel.
Nutrients,
You know?
yes. Fair enough.
And you don't want to overcook it. You cook your apples down to just to the point where if you take the wooden spoon and press the slice of apple against the side of the pot, then it squishes.
When are you making applesauce for me?
I make applesauce in the fall when the apples are ripe.
Well, then this is now I have something to look forward to.
Well, I'll bring you some applesauce from my supply.
Excellent. I would love that.
I will be glad to do that.
Thank you.
My daughter did me a great favor because she married an orchard.
She married an orchard, did
Yes,
she?
up
A
in New-
whole orchard?
a whole orchard.
Not a man who had an orchard?
That's the best way to marry an orchard. But from my perspective, as a man who was in constant need of large quantities of apples, it was that she married an orchard. The first time that I went up to the orchard. I took a hike around the perimeter of the orchard, and it took me 42 minutes to hike around the orchard.
Wow.
And I was
That's a
faster in those days than I
substantial
am now. And I came back and I
orchard.
said, wow, I had no idea how big this orchard was. It took me 42 minutes. And they said, you only walked around the lower orchard.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's the kind of orchard operation
nice.
that they actually bring in Jamaican pickers.
Why Jamaican?
Well, I don't know. It's a tradition around here. Around here, many of the farm workers aren't Mexicans or Guatemalans as they are in the West and the South. They're Caribbean people who come up for the season and work, and the ones up there just happen to be Jamaican.
Interesting.
And
now I'm going to have to go out and do a survey and see where this actually.
survey and see where the agricultural workers are coming from.
Exactly. You know, those that will actually talk to me.
Okay. Why wouldn't they talk to you?
Because, you know, I don't know that that's always a legit gig.
No, it's a very legit gig.
You think
It's
so?
Well, in New England, it's a very legit.
You hope so.
Legit gig. You know, what do you think they're sneaking across from Newfoundland?
You know, maybe not. It's entirely possible.
We're sneaking in farm workers from Newfoundland.
Well, you know, I have a tendency. I don't want to think the worst, but it's possible.
Okay,
But,
all right. You and your suspicious mind. All set up.
Got to keep things interesting.
In any case, that's the secret of applesauce.
Excellent.
And it is fun. Anyway, the virtue is that the apples that my daughter's mother-in-law grows in New Hampshire have a great deal of color in them.
Okay.
So
You have pretty
in
applesauce.
a good year, I get a really nice pink applesauce.
That's the best.
And in a special year, my applesauce almost looks like tomato sauce.
Wow. That's a really special year.
And you know, there's something like 23 varieties of apples that are all sold as Macintosh.
Okay.
And you have these different things. New England Rome apples give you give you no color whatsoever.
Okay.
New York Rome apples make it like tomato sauce.
Interesting. What's your favorite kind?
Oh,
You have
with
to
all
pick
the
one.
pick one.
Yeah, you have to pick one. You have to narrow it down to one.
McCown.
Okay.
McCown is the Morgan horse of apples.
Morgan horse.
Yes.
What is that reference?
Well, the Morgan horse is a breed of horse that was developed in Vermont
Okay.
centuries ago, and the Morgan horse was a great little horse. You can hook it to a buggy, you can hook it to a plow, you can ride it, you can...
It was a very versatile horse.
Right, you can use it for shows, you can use it for cutting cattle, very intelligent, small, hardy, good for everything horse. And
Excellent.
that's what the McCown is. You can eat it
I like
out
the
of
Cortland.
hand, you can stew it, you can bake it, you can do everything
It's
with
an
it.
everything
Cortland's a very good apple, a very
Yes.
good, firm apple.
Excellent.
And one of the things that it's interesting is the fact that New England delicious apples are a totally different apple than that Washington State engineered abomination.
Okay.
They actually taste good.
Yes.
And they're useful but those things that...
The things you will learn on the fun show, everybody.
Right. But Washington State apples belong next to the word apple in the dictionary, not on your table.
Noted.
All right, are you ready?
I think-
Acapella.
We're going to do this without the keyboard. All right. This is for Mike and Irene.
Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. We'll see you in our dreams. Good night, everybody. Good
Happy
night,
Passover.
Irene. Good night from the Fun Show here at Big TV. Look for us in 2 weeks. Same time, same bat channel.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Fade to black. Yay.